Hello, Donald Woods and I would like to welcome you to the 10th programme in our Best Games series. We've reached 1970, the modern game, and our first look at a modern genius, the mild-mannered Russian Boris Spassky. Spassky was born in Leningrad, where as a child he studied chess for 5 hours every day in the Palace of Young Pioneers. He won the Soviet Junior Championship in 1955 and the Soviet Championship in 1961. He first challenged the wily Armenian Tigran Petrosian, unsuccessfully as it turned out, at the World Championship in 1966. But he sought out Petrosian 3 years later in Moscow, where he won the world title by 12.5 games to 10.5. At the zenith of his powers, Spassky's play was glittering and elegant. He was regarded as the universal player who could handle any type of position with insight and supreme grasp of technique. In the following game from 1970, Spassky led the USSR team in their conquest of the world in Belgrade, billed as the match of the century. It was against Danish Grandmaster Bent Larsen. Larsen was one of the first modern Western Grandmasters to pose a serious challenge for Soviet domination of the international circuit in the 1960s. His outstanding result as topboard for the Danish Olympic team in 1956 had persuaded him to give up his studies as a civil engineer and to become a professional chess player, qualifying as a candidate for the World Championship 4 times. Larsen had played in the same tournament as Spassky back in 1958 as young students of great promise. Larsen's results were consistently impressive, and in Belgrade he played board 1 for the world against Spassky, board 1 for the USSR.
Now, Ray, talking of Boris Spassky, I happened to be in Oslo some years ago and in search of some reading material, and came across this very interesting book, ChessNoir versus Spassky by Raymond Keene, and brought it up to my hotel room and was profoundly moved to see that it's dedicated to me. So I've always wanted a chance to thank you publicly and to get it autographed by you.
My pleasure. Let me do it now.
That has to be a first of one kind or another. Not only coming across it in those circumstances, but being able to get it autographed publicly.
So, what made you buy a book on Spassky? Are you a particular devotee of Spassky's games?
Well, there were several reasons, actually. One is, A, you don't get an awful lot of books in English in Norway. B, I'd had dinner with ChessNoir that evening.
His opponent in the match.
Victor Lebovich, who you know well. And, also I like the play of, I think Spassky and ChessNoir are both great players. I thought Spassky was very gracious in his matches with Fischer, when you consider what he had to put up with.
He's a good loser.
Yeah.
Yes, he certainly is. But in this game...
Well, one final reason is having met you in Cape Town.
Oh, yes.